What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Billy Collins.
Matt Doje.
And this is Magician.
Hang on a minute.
And the What Now?
I'm Jordan Riley, and this is the Fully Vetted Show.
Sweet.
So maybe you guys remember Jordan was on the show, what, 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
He lives in my neighborhood, and I've known him for a while, and I know he's a former Marine, kind of now into the business world, and we're like, got to have him on the show. He was so empowered. He's like, man, this is so awesome. It's probably the most I've talked about military life.
Yeah.
And Billy, you said after the first segment, you know, man, it'd be really cool to have a show or something where it's just military guys sitting around talking about kind of the good old days. You know,
Right.
Selfishly, we like hearing those stories.
And on top of that, Jordan had mentioned that this, during one of our little breaks, that this was very therapeutic for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it just popped in my head. It's like, well, if this is therapeutic for him,
Yeah.
maybe it could be for others
Mm-hmm.
who are trying to...
We're like, we got to do a
Find a
show.
way.
We got to figure out what
Yeah.
that show's going to be like. And I told you I'm part of a film that's called Beyond the Game, and it's for former athletes. And I'm like, man, I've actually, for the last couple of months, I think I've probably told you about it. I'm like, man, we got to do like a Beyond the Field or Beyond the Trenches, whatever the term would
Right,
be
yeah.
for military. Because I see a lot of the similarities in terms of the camaraderie, the missed brotherhood, the identity, you know,
Yeah.
just what do I do with my hands now?
Right,
now
right,
that I'm
right,
done?
right.
So we brought you on, and I think it translated really well. And you know, you mentioned, hey, you got a lot of buddies who you think would benefit from we don't want to call it a safe space for veterans,
we don't.
but a dangerous space.
I don't want to call it therapeutic. I want to call it like venting vets or something like, you know.
Sure.
they
Well,
can just kinda
there's a
like-
lot of guys out there with a lot of great stories, and a lot of these guys just want to tell their stories. And for some people, it may not be that interesting, but for other veterans and guys that have kind of been there and done that, it kind of means a lot to hear different perspectives, different branches, different generations, just guys from all over, kind of just talking about where they've been and what they've done.
And then
across the whole
also,
spectrum.
what's that transition been like? We talked before.
Yeah.
There's, just like with athletes, there's way more former athletes than there are current athletes.
Right.
I don't know how many NFL players there are each year. It's 32 teams, 50, 60 guys on each team. I mean, there's more Division III football players that are never going to play again. You know,
Right.
Right.
former-
Exactly.
Not to mention guys who played for a year or so. So it's the same thing with you. I mean, there's a fresh crop of new Marines, new Coasties, new Army, whatever they call themselves.
Soldiers.
Armies.
Your branch was the Marine Corps.
Right.
But you don't want to, obviously you want to touch on all
Sure.
different
Yeah.
branches.
Yeah.
And so why don't you just give like a quick synopsis of what you feel like the channel is going to resonate with?
And maybe talk too about what you got out of it during it, because hopefully there'll be some veterans listening that, hey, I want to
Yeah.
take advantage of that opportunity.
Right. Well, I mean, sometimes you got to just say it out loud. You know, sometimes you actually have to say what you're thinking out loud, and then all of a sudden it starts to make more sense to you. So if guys have a platform to come on and explain what it was like to take, like you had mentioned earlier about like changing uniforms and how you're kind of going from one huge portion of your life, whether it was 4 years or 25 years, 30 years, it's still a huge chunk of your life. It meant so much to you. And then to change to something else, it's a big deal. And a lot of guys go through it a lot different of a way. You know, some guys take it easy, some guys take it hard. And I think that to give people a platform to share their experience in how that transition went may help others kind of soften the blow when it comes to, you know, getting out and going on to the next chapter of their life and moving on to whatever they're going to do with their lives, and may give some insight so that people are kind of prepared for that. And they kind of have a sense of what they're getting into. There's a lot of things that the military and the government do to help you transition, but there's also a lot of things that they don't.
What was that form you said they
really
give
tell
you? The DD something. I remember you mentioned the
DD
form.
214.
Yeah. which
Yeah,
is
just
essentially
your paperwork to
sounds
get
like for
out.
your
Watch
service.
Star Wars.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's so that it's. I always joke about it, like it's the thing that makes you not have to legally be here anymore.
Ah.
But for the most part, you know, guys, they understand like what they're going to get into as far as trying to find a job, trying to write resumes. I mean, there's different programs you go through to try to help you with this, and it's good because they do their due diligence in trying to make sure that you land on your feet. But there's a lot of other things that happen outside of finding a job that
You're
they really
searching
can't help
for-
you with.
I know for former athletes, you're searching for significance again. Like,
Right.
You're trying to find, And coming to
a purpose.
the realization, like, man, there's not going to be much that I do in my life bigger than what I've already done. You're probably not going to join an organization definitely not bigger or more well organized or well respected among non-military guys than the Marine Corps, than being in the Army. That's something you'll be able to wear for the rest of your life.
Right.
And it's there. What you do almost have to come to that realization, like, I need to stop searching for that. Chances are I'm not going to find it. Like, but if I can figure out how to leverage it, into the rest of my life.
And that leverage and translating your skills is another really difficult thing. Is figuring out what you did and what you've learned and your level of competency with certain things, and then trying to figure out how to do that as a civilian to make yourself more competitive, more for jobs, or you're better at certain things, whether it's like I think I said in the last podcast, you're just trying to translate that to being a husband and a father and a coworker and a
trying to
subordinate.
figure life out like the rest of everybody else.
Yeah. But you have these skills that are so imperative to who you are and what you're good at doing that it's hard to try to find out how to make that translate to things that are not military related.
I was going to say, we're talking about there's like ready-made careers. You can go into law enforcement. You can go into SWAT. You can keep that.
Auto mechanics or diesel mechanics.
Right. If you were a diesel mechanic in the military, obviously you're a shoo-in. Yeah. But if you choose to take a different route, some people say, like, I've done that for long enough now, and that's not my thing. And they want to change it up because they were like, well, if I loved it so much, I'd have stayed doing it where I was doing it. So some people get out and they just want to flip script and do a totally different thing. And
then it
for
could
some
be
people,
like,
it's hard.
There was a lot about it I didn't like, but there's still a lot about it I did like.
Right.
How do I find a career? The same thing with athletics.
Same
That's what you'll
structure, same,
athletes will go into coaching or broadcasting, something that's close to it, but maybe they're not having to put their body under as much stress. Obviously, commentating a game than running out on kickoff.
Right.
So I think it's going to be there's. I mean, I can't. It's. We know just growing up here between Cherry Point and Camp Lejeune, you've got a lot of family in the military. My brothers fought in Iraq. Dad went to the Coast Guard Academy. Young Jock and I, we were not as brave.
I wasn't either.
We did some community service at the Salvation Army. We did court mandated.
But we're all closely tied to some sort of branch of the service.
Yeah.
And this, especially if you live in this area. But for me, what I'm excited for is that you're also going to kind of describe to the layman civilians military life.
Right. Yeah.
We're going to do some fun stuff with all the three of us.
Every
four.
Oh, yeah.
There's someone else here.
Every soldier is literally like a walking encyclopedia of what they did. Like the same thing with my brother. He'll have actually this past weekend they meet up at IHOP. It's all the guys that they went into fought in Iraq, and he was in the National Guard, which pretty much turns into the Army when you get deployed.
Yeah.
And just hearing them talk, I mean, it's hearing you talk. It's like you're right back there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it feels that way. It really does. And I think I kind of hit on it before in our show, but one of the things when you do transition that's tough is that you feel like this huge part of you that if you don't talk about it or you don't retell certain stories, some of these things kind of start to fade in your memory, and these things are just kind of it's almost like they're decaying, and then next thing you know, it almost takes somebody else bringing it up. Sometimes when I get together with my buddies and someone will bring up a story and I'll be like, man, I completely forgot about that. And it's such an awesome, funny, or crucial story.
Well, we saw that during the episode. It was like a light went off. Sometimes you would sit there talking, you're like, oh, and this happened.
Yeah.
And,
imagine if we were actually veterans and could add to it. We were just like 5-year-olds, keep going.
Can you tell us more, Daddy?
I mean, a lot of times you just get two veterans together.
Yeah.
Because you guys are in a very select fraternity. I can talk to you about football, but if I'm talking with a guy who was there as well, we just have that shared interest, that shared experience. And a lot of times just get them in the room. We talked about it. We almost want it to be like a fly on the wall. Hear you guys talk, add a little bit of structure. And to speak on that too, guys who have been watching this show, this channel started, it was the Billy Collins Project, kind of morphed into Magician and The Jock.
Right.
You had some shows before that. And we talked early on, like wanting to build almost like a network,
We do like
a content farm, if you will.
broadcasting station.
Yeah, because I mean, there's just so many people that I mean, there's not much special about us. We just, it's consistency. It's and like, as you talk about with Tipsy Talk, everyone has a story,
Yeah.
and this is one that just made a lot of sense. We've talked to other people about doing it, but
Never came
they
to
didn't really have the direction
Right.
nearly as much in that kind of desire to do it.
And this is our first attempt at producing a show, other than ours, which and
We're
Matt
hoping
and
it's
I-
very similar.
Yeah, it should be. But Matt and I have put in a ton of hours,
Mm-hmm.
ton of. I mean, we've been here till midnight sometimes working
yeah.
on, the computers or the wiring and stuff. So we're really trying to hone in on the craft that we're building here, building that station or the content incubator.
Yeah, just have it so where Jordan can show up. Hey, here's who he's talking to. This is so and so who was in this branch, and now they own this business. And that same fire in your belly. It's not that the memories fade. It's almost like a filing cabinet. They just get pushed to the
Yeah,
back.
you got to dig through a lot of stuff to find out.
It's
what
just
you
like
remember.
going back
Yeah.
on your computer and you're like, what was that file? And you start looking for it, and then it pops it right back up.
Yeah.
And it's like it was never gone. But a lot of guys don't have that outlet. You mentioned coming home, being a good dad, being a good husband. Your wife's not like, hey, tell me about what boot camp was like.
Right,
Or tell
yeah.
me your kid is like, your kid is wild.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like too, my wife or my dad was always really into what I was doing.
Yeah.
He was probably my number one fan when I was doing it.
Sure.
And a lot of times, I end up feeling bad because they'll say something like, "Oh, I never heard that story," or I wish I heard more about what you did and all that. But it's hard sometimes because when you're doing it, and for a lot of veterans, they don't really want to impose that.
Right.
All those stories and things that they assume.
Excuse me, everyone. I want to tell you.
Right, like
everything
I
about
need some
me.
more.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest problem too is that a lot of guys don't really want attention for whatever they did. A lot of guys, most veterans, when you say, thank you for your service, it's such a meaningful thing for somebody to say to them, but to them, it's almost kind of awkward to receive it because they're just kind of like, I don't really want recognition for it. I really don't need, there's other people that did more. I'm still here. All those things kind of cross through their mind. And a lot of people during just kind of say like, well, it's just my job. It's my job. I mean, you don't get thanked every day for doing your job. So it's kind of the same
What do
thing.
Marines say? I fight for the guy on my left and the guy on my right. It's not.
Right.
I'm not. This is my service for this lady I'm going to talk to in the grocery store 10 years.
And that's what kind of makes guys not really go out of their way to just start sharing their knowledge and stories and things like that because they don't really want the attention drawn to them because they think maybe, in my opinion, they may think that like they're fishing for the attention. But a lot of guys have some pretty incredible knowledge, pretty awesome stories. And I think that a platform for them to come on and discuss those stories would not only be great for them, but it's insightful for other people. And to talk about how that led to where they are now and what they're doing now and how they made that whole, it's a mess. And it's something that not a lot of people discuss is how messy the process is. And I think you hit on it last time we talked was everybody has to get in and everybody has to get out. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole lot of stuff that happens in between.
One way or the
Yeah,
other.
but everybody gets out. Even if you retire and do a whole career.
Well, they say father's time is undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And at some point, everybody has to face the fact that you're going to leave that and you're going to go do something else. I mean, even if you talk to people who have retired, who aren't veterans, and they just in retirement, in their first week of retirement, it's like, well, what do I do? I have no idea what I do now. And
God, it was like after my divorce. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know what to do.
Whatever I want.
I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Let's hit the yellow pages.
and there is a lot of freedom, but it's not necessarily the freedom you thought you
I
were
was
going
going
to
to say
get.
there's a lot of freedom within that system too.
Right, that you thought you didn't have.
You have complete freedom. Now you got to, okay, I got to be accountable to, it's easier to be accountable to someone yelling at you, right? Because there's repercussions for being late. That's what I noticed. If I was late to a morning workout, I had sprints or there was some kind of
There's
punishment.
some kind of repercussion.
Now in the quote unquote real world, if I'm late, I'm just like, damn. But there's not a drill sergeant, breathing down your neck. So, I think some things we'll hit on in each show for you is what I found really interesting about this, and Bill, you can probably
Yeah.
back me up too. When you decided you wanted to join, like when you first got that itch,
Right.
what was your welcome to the military moment? Kind of like the what's your welcome to the NFL moment, and then when did you know you were done?
Yeah.
I think those.
Cover the bases.
Yeah, I don't know how much structure we'll have the show, but I think there's just an endless list of.
I mean, it could go so
Former
many
military.
places for you on this.
Yeah.
We talked in the pre-production of the show of, going from like I said, showing me and Matt what it is like to be in the military, by doing certain things.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't want to divulge that right now because
Right.
keep it a surprise. But talking to people about
Stay
their-
tuned.
Stay tuned. Talking
Kinda
to
in
people
between
about their
episodes, yeah.
their therapy and
Yeah.
how they code with their post and all
Yeah.
that fun stuff. So yeah, the limits.
And another big thing too, this is something we were with Beyond the Game, is the narrative is pretty. If you ask people how do athletes fare when they get done playing their sport, well, if only thing they know never had meeting a former athlete, they're just watching. Well, they've seen the 30 for 30 going broke, right? They've seen the images of former Super Bowl champions selling their rings at pawn shops
Right,
because
yeah.
they couldn't manage.
Well, that's
their
the only
money.
stuff that sells. You never
It
hear any
bleeds, it
success
leads.
stories. You
And
never hear.
It's not to say that there aren't problems, but the same thing in the military. The narrative has covered pretty good the homeless military, the
Right.
suicide rate, which we're not downplaying that at all. But what you're hopefully going to do is offer an alternative, right?
Right.
We want to highlight bright spots of former military who have successfully
Right,
transitioned.
yeah.
Not supermen that just, hey, we had it figured out. They're like, no,
Right.
we went through the same shit. We had to what do I do with my hands?
Exactly.
What do I wear?
Yeah, I think finding the commonalities
There's gonna be
is
a
how you're going to
definite
figure out
trends.
how to succeed. Because if we talk to 50 people, and out of those 50 people we find a single point from every one of them, then if you start taking 50 points of success that happened even throughout all the failure that it took to get to those points, if you can skip all that failure, it's like learning from your dad. It's like your dad just wants to tell you, like, hey, I've already been there. I've already done that. I understand what you're going through. This is what happened to me. This is how you can avoid that.
Yeah.
And no one listens. But if you give, veterans listen to other veterans because we get each other and we kind of understand where we're coming from. And that's why across the generations, it'll be great to talk
Yeah.
to because there is a commonality.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
so
that's going to
too.
be because you mentioned meeting a Vietnam vet in the last show.
Yeah.
Were you on a cruise?
On
you
a
said?
cruise, yeah.
And you guys probably look at them as like, we've all seen
Yeah.
the movies. Like, there's I would shit down my leg if I had to be. And then you got Forrest Gump going right into
Yeah.
clear that hole.
And then for him to look at me and think that what I did was
Yeah.
harder, it was mind numbing because it was like,
Got
dude,
the
you're
mutual respect
out of your
between-
mind.
The mutual
Yeah.
respect
Yeah.
between veterans is pretty cool.
And to find the commonalities and then figure out, even through the generations, what was it like to get out when you got out? I mean, it might have been 20, 30 years ago. A lot's changed since then. So what was it like then? And then to find out all of these ways to maybe help somebody in the future who's maybe currently still active duty and they're about to transition out.
Probably terrified, the unknown.
Yeah, and but there's a lot of information out there, and one of the biggest problems among a lot of veterans is that no one's talking about it. Nobody allows themselves
they are,
to
but
be.
I think that they're just like with athletes, they're highlighting the negative, right? All of
Yeah.
there's not much example of here's guys balling out, killing it, doing really well, or if there is, it so glosses over the struggle that everyone goes
Right.
through. That's why Beyond the Game's done so well, because it's like, hey, these are common trends and issues that every single person needs to go through. What we'll hopefully do with this show is just highlight those bright spots so guys can see, like, hey, the shit I'm going through, it's not, unless you have any other example, you feel like this is so unique to me, no one would understand my problem. But if someone watches 50 shows of the Fully Vetted show, of every single one of those guys said they struggled with the exact
right.
a version of what I'm struggling with, and they all overcame it. So what is it, Roger Bannister, when he broke the 4-minute mile? Now suddenly 10,000 guys have broken it. It's like,
Right.
oh, someone did it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It
You'll
can
almost-
be done.
You're going to give a lot of vets permission to succeed,
Yeah.
because for a lot of them, their past is a lot brighter in their mind than what their future is. So I think this is going to provide.
I think
some
a good thing
stuff.
for your show is that you're a brotherhood when you're in, but you're still a brotherhood when you're out.
Right.
So you're able to kind of bring those guys together. We might have to do some that are virtual, which is fine.
Sure.
But it's still a brotherhood, even though you're thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
So, and
Billy's buying a hologram camera. He has another good weekend.
Everybody go support Billy.
Come on
right
down to
now.
Jack's.
Come down to Jack's this weekend.
Which we've got a bone to pick on. There was some of your brothers in arms that were that were not helping the cause.
You really don't want to be around Marines at a bar
It's
especially not when it's time to sign
because
their
they
tab.
think they own the bar.
They do.
Yeah,
and when
it's
you get
their bar.
a 21-year-old that tells one of our bartenders, learn how to make a drink, you're like,
And here's your $1 tip on a $100 tab.
Like I've always said before.
I'm not defending.
Well,
your bad behavior.
that's because he's paying off the 16% interest on his Camaro.
yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's
speaking
a-
of Camaros, you know who else had a Camaro?
Dirty D.
Doge.
Hey, I remember that.
Dumbass.
One of the things that I try to let everybody know, though, is like, look, they're pulling from the same populace as the rest of everybody else. There's always going to be, if you run into 100 people, there's going to be 10 of them that are just
Oh, no,
awful
we ran into
people.
100 of them, and all 100 of them $1 on $100.
Yeah, we're seeing some trends.
Yeah.
So we need to highlight some bright spots of guys
Yeah.
leaving 20% tips at the bar.
And one of the things that
drink
we
two
will
less
see,
drinks.
one of the things that we will see the more people we talk to is the mountain on the graph. Is that if we're going to talk success stories and we're up here in the succeeding world, the conversation is going to go like this. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody needs to hear this part down here because everybody's going to go through it, that bottom low. And a lot of people can watch a video of Tony Robbins telling them how to become millionaires. And obviously they're going to be like, well, that's easy for Tony Robbins. He's a millionaire. And everybody's at that bottom low, but they haven't seen what he went through to get there. They don't see or hear what these guys went through to get to that success and how much of a struggle it might be.
Are you going to
but
have
it's
guys
attainable.
walk over hot coals? Wasn't that an early Tony Robbins?
We could do that.
Hot coals and jumping
Let me
in the
check.
hot, cold
let me
bath.
I've always
check the
wanted to do that.
We need to check the liability.
Yeah, before we do that, we got to check our insurance.
Just sign a waiver. We'd be all right.
We'll do that virtually.
Yeah. But I think it'd be cool, too, to highlight some of the fun things that veterans have gone through. And I think to show and to give those guys an opportunity to kind of relive some of those things and just kind of feel like, I mean, I remember talking to your brother before and just the opportunity for him to share some of his stories with somebody that he could start using acronyms and things and things that he knew no one else would get. And it just, when you see somebody kind of light up a bit and realize that like they're really enjoying talking about this and they're finally getting a platform to really say something.
Just give you a heads up, when you guys have acronyms, there'll be subtitles on the bottom.
It's like the
Sure.
A, B, C, D. Me too. No way. D, F, G.
And one thing, and one of the big things too, is that before I even joined, I watched a lot because YouTube was still a thing, and so I watched a
It's
lot
still
of.
a thing, hopefully.
Well, yeah, but even then,
Okay.
but I watched a lot of videos on
It's the
just what I was getting into. You know what I mean? Like you really wanted. I mean, you could find either boot camp footage, combat footage. Like there was everything on the internet from anything in between, and you could kind of get an idea of it. And I think that there's a lot of people that might be out there that might even be interested in joining. And even though we may be able to help a lot of veterans transition, there might be a lot of information we could pass along to guys that haven't even come in yet,
Some propaganda.
who might be, yeah, we can maybe sell them on how cool it might be and just let them know like, hey, you're going to get into something that you think is going to be very cool, and it is going to be very cool, but there is going to be some struggles that you go through, and here's what they are, and here's what to fully expect.
out.
I think
to really fully
I think
expect
a
what
good
you're going to do.
segment in the show would be the embrace the suck moment, because I know that's a term. Isn't that a term the Marines use? Embrace the suck. I've read that.
Yeah,
but it's basically
It's a Hollywood kind of term.
yeah, but it's basically like this sucks, but it sucks for everyone.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
but you kind of
The suck can be anything.
It's temporary.
Yeah.
As Jordan's jet comes to pick him up right now.
Yeah. By right.
I'm just kidding about the bar tab. I'm just totally kidding.
It's fine, guys. Leave $1.
Well, they're airstriking everybody now, so I mean, who knows?
No, we're excited, man.
Yeah.
I think it's. I'm getting
super
fired
excited.
up doing it.
I know.
talking
about it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to like the in between episodes where we're just like trying MRE.
Yeah, I'm gonna haze you guys. It'd be fun.
No, it's fantastic.
Already got
Plus,
the haircut.
you'll have your own set and all that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
It's gonna look a lot like ours.
So are you excited?
Yeah, I'm stoked. I can't wait because I honestly, one of the biggest things I'll get out of it is just talking to guys from, especially across branch, because I've worked before briefly with Green Berets and some Army guys, like Army infantry guys, and that was my brief glimpse of the Army. So I'd love to learn more about the Army. I'd love to learn more about the Coast Guard because we have a lot of Coast Guard guys here.
You'll find this show, we talk about podcasts, it's just really intentional conversations. So
Yeah.
it's kind of awkward to say, hey, buddy, can we have coffee? And I pick your brain for an hour and a half. But
Right.
with a show, now it's really intentional. Yeah, it's going to open up some crazy doors for you, too.
Yeah, and I hope it helps some guys because I genuinely enjoyed being able to come onto y'all's show and just talk about things that like normally in my everyday life like never really comes up anymore. It's not like a big thing. I mean, I still have it on the side in the back of my mind and I talk to my buddies and stuff, but to have people be genuinely interested in what you've done and some of your stories and stuff like that, I think that if I can give them a platform to do that, it might benefit them in the same way it benefited me, where I just felt great leaving and just felt like I kind of got to
Validated a little
yeah,
bit.
kind of got back into it and
Billy,
talk some things
do
through.
you have any advice for him? Because you've been doing this longer than all of us.
Do your research,
Yeah.
structure yourself, and just relax
Yeah.
and have a good time. I think at from the very beginning, we sat and watched my video. I just talked to the camera, didn't know what I was going to do, what I was going to
He
say.
was very relaxed.
I was
Skipped
relaxed.
over the research part.
Yeah, but it just to have a good time,
Yeah.
because that's what it's all about, is to highlight the guest, have a great time while you're doing it, share stories, entertain the people so that they're get some knowledge out of this. You're solving problems with this show is basically what every show we do is.
I
Yes.
would piggyback on that. Seek first to be interested, not interesting,
Yeah.
and you'll do whatever you
Yeah.
want. Especially when you're on the other side where you're asking questions. You'll find it's addicting to be on this side. It's weird when someone asks us questions. You know,
You're like,
They're like, no, what
shut
is
your
that?
mouth. I'm
How
not
does that-
answering
Yeah.
that.
How does it make you feel? Not me.
Yeah, and I don't like the attention on me, so I love the fact that, me just learning from people and being able
So
to give them a
humble.
chance to have the
Wait till
attention.
you're at McDonald's and you're like, so, when you first started at
Yeah.
what was it like? Did you fill out the application? Did you actually?
When I said Diet Coke, how did that make you feel?
You go into podcast or video show mode, so
You'll see. It's good, man. If it's interesting to record, it'll be interesting to watch. So
Cool.
and I think we're both excited for it. I'm excited for us to take that.
so excited.
So excited. But and we're happy for you for
Yeah,
coming
thanks.
on. Thank you for agreeing to do this.
Yeah, well, thanks for giving me a chance to give other guys like me the same platform y'all gave me when I came on your show. I mean, it's going to be meaningful to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be helpful for a lot of guys, but at the same time, for me at least, it gives me an opportunity to kind of delve back into something that I was really passionate about and to continue doing it and,
It's the least
keep
I
it
can do.
alive.
It's the least I can do.
Yes, exactly.
This is my service. Thank you.
So I guess we're going to sign off, and we'll show you so you can learn for the
Yeah.
next show.
Wait
You
for
can
the
come up-
pros. Yeah.
Yeah, you can come up with your own. So
Yeah, y'all do your run and then we'll do Jordan.
Yeah. He's like, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
That was it.
Yeah.
so
Thank
guys,
you.
do us a huge favor, hit that subscribe button,
Smash the like button.
and we'll see you on the next video.
And before you cut off,
Peace.
Jordan, your turn.
Dude, you can't go against the peace.
He was in the
do it
middle
one
of his
more time.
piece.
Do it one more time. Peace is so important.
It is.
You know what I think would be a cool outro? As you were. That'd be pretty cool.
Now you're getting corny.
Or go simplify or something.
That might be.
Hoorah.
No way.
The Chris Cam
Too
never
corny.
got.
As you were. Nate always says as you were. When he's like, I'm sorry, as you were. It's just like.
So we'll do that. The exit again.
Yeah.
Yeah, do the exit again.
Guys, do us a big favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button,
Smash the like button.
and we'll see you on the next video.
Peace.
And Jordan, your turn.
There's no way. It's too corny.
Come on.
You got to be a little corny. You got to lean into the corny a little
I
bit.
know, but the veteran dudes hate corny.
No, dude. My brother's a vet. He's a combat veteran.
No,
Yeah, but he
hoorah.
likes.
He says as you were. And
You could
he's
do.
Yeah, dude, he likes like McDonald's, all sorts of shit.
yeah. He's like, let me get chicken nuggets. Hey, drop down and give me 50. That's exactly what he says.
Um.
We'll think of it. It'll come to you.
Yeah. God, that's hard.
Yeah, we'll
On the
get
spot.
one.
It's hard.
Get, I
Um.
see the sweat. We should have had a top one right there.
No, it's on him.
Yeah,
That's the greatest outro ever.
Yeah. Oh shit.
we'll work on it. We'll work on it.
Yeah.
We'll get you a go.
I'm just thinking.
We'll work on that
Yeah.
after the show.
Adios.
Adios.
Peace.
You can cut that whole bit out.
Oh, this.
Oh my God, you're making it so corny.
this.
I can't
Don't do
I
this.
can't salute.